Reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 2. Chapter 2, known as Transcendental Knowledge. Sorry, chapter 4, known as what? Transcendental Knowledge. And verse 2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajashayo vidu sakale neha mahata yoganashta parantapa evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo vidu sakale neha mahata yoganashta parantapa. Any Prabhuji or Mataji? Evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo vidu sakale neha mahata evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo vidu sakale neha mahata yoganashta parantapa.
Evam parampara
praptam
imam rajarshayo
vidu
sakala neha mahata
yoganashta parantapa. Reading word by word translation. Evam, thus, parampara, by disciplic succession, praptam, received, imam, this science, rajarsh rishi, the saintly kings, vidu, understand, sa, the knowledge, kalena, in the course of time, iha, in this world, mahata, great, yoga, the science of one's relationship with the Supreme, nasta, scattered, parantapa, O Arjuna, subdued of the enemies. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Mataji, you can read the...
It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic persons who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretations according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord Himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore He declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment, also there are so many editions of Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Shri Krishna. This spirit is demonic, because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Paramatma, Parampara, parampara disciplic succession system. An attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity, but if it is accepted as a exercise of philosophical speculations, it is simply a waste of time.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisvanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataruvascha Kripa Sindhuvayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. So thank you so much for joining in this wonderful Bhagavad Gita systematic study we do every Saturday. We take one verse, one after other. Last time we discussed about the first verse of chapter 4, which is titled Transcendental Knowledge. And there Krishna says, Bhagavan Uvacha, Imam vivasute yogam proktovam ahavyam vivaswan manave praha manurikshakve bhavre. So that means Krishna is saying, I mentioned this yoga, which I am telling you, Arjuna, millions of years ago to the sun god Vivaswan. Sri Sri Radha Sam Sundar ki jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Sri Sri Gaurnitai ki jai. So I mentioned this, whatever I'm speaking to you, Arjuna, I mentioned all of these to the sun god Vivaswan. And sun god mentioned this to his son Vivaswate Manu. And then Vivaswate Manu mentioned this to the Ikshaku, and from which the Ikshaku dynasty lineage started, and Ikshaku dynasty produced some of the top kings. You may have heard Ramachandra was from the same dynasty, and from there, from the Surya Vansh, we have the Chandra Vansh, where you have the Bharatvarsha, where you have the Arjuna, and everybody came from that lineage. So this linkage was lost, because when I mentioned all these things, all the kings were very saintly people. The kings were very saintly people. That means they are Rajashris. So here, in this verse, Krishna is explaining, same continuation of same Bhagavan Uvacha. Krishna is saying, Evam parampara praptam imam Rajashya vidu. Rajashri. That means the kings were all Rajashris. That means they had all the qualities of being Raja and Rishi at the same time. So that's the reason why those knowledge really shifted one generation to another, because the kings were very potent. The kings were Rajashris. That's why it is mentioned that anybody who eventually becomes a king or a leader should have the quality to understand the supreme injunction of the Lord, which is the Bhagavad Gita, or all the scriptures which have this tremendous knowledge hidden, which is true irrespective of time. Time has passed, but all the things which were mentioned millions of years ago by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, still holds true. So those Rajashris, they kind of took my knowledge and moved it from generations to generations to generations. But then the kings, the leaders, became very corrupt. That's the reason why this knowledge was hidden somewhere. So the quality of some of the leaders should be of the tune of people who really understand the scriptures, people who understand who we are, who is the Supreme, and what is the relationship between the Supreme. So the kings at that time understood it. But however, there was another class of people who were sadhus or rishis. They were not kings, through which this knowledge came. But finally, that was a very potent way to get the knowledge across. But they were not very influential people. The rishis were not very influential people. Because the rishis were not very influential people, it reached to the limited few. The knowledge was there, but it reached the limited few. So here, how do we acquire knowledge? The question becomes, how do we acquire knowledge? Because can we acquire knowledge from anybody? Really? Can we acquire knowledge from anybody who says, okay, I have the knowledge, come get it for me. No. Because it is mentioned in the scriptures that everybody needs proof. Okay? And there are three kinds of proof. Proof means praman. Okay? So, like say for example, we'll go into a use case, but the three pramans, the three proofs by virtue of which the knowledge gets from one person to another, from our teachers to us, the first kind of praman is called pratyaksha praman. Pratyaksha praman is something what we see in our eyes, what we feel, what we experience. That is pratyaksha praman. Then the second kind of praman is called anuman praman. Anuman. You basically let your mind wander and you guess, and then based on that anuman praman, you conclude that this is true or false, or this is how it should be. Then the third praman is called sabda praman. Based on a bona fide person's views, it is considered whether you accept based on what he has said, because he has done all the exercise, he has done all the background work, he has been there, done it, which is why it is mentioned that the sabda praman is from a bona fide person. So we have these three pramans, but let's take each one by one. Why Krishna is explaining about evam parampara praptam. Parampara, this knowledge of transcendental knowledge should truly come from parampara. Parampara is from the disciplic succession. If there is no parampara, there is that adulteration, there is that corruption. So let's talk about pratyaksha praman. Say pratyaksha praman is something we see and we believe, right? Say for example, we have a jar of water, right? And then we put a pencil. When we put the pencil appears curved, right? On the edges where it touches the... If we believe that the pencil, which is actually a straight line, is curved, that is wrong information. And that is precisely because our understanding, our material understanding is very flawed. Material understanding is prone to imperfect senses because our senses are very imperfect. Sometimes we remember, sometimes we forget. Sometimes we think this is right, and after 2-3 days, what we go through based on the conditioning, based on some very difficult meetings we may be having, some of the relationship we have, maybe they change the course because we have imperfect senses. And we have the tendency to be illusioned. Because in this world, like whenever you're seeing a sand in a desert, sometimes there is that element of illusion that there is water, right? Because we have the tendency to be illusioned. And the third thing is, we have the tendency to do mistakes. Because sometimes because of our day-to-day dealings, we are prone to doing mistakes. Because our memory is limited, our understanding is limited. And the fourth thing, why we make mistakes, is we are prone to cheating. That means the human being, they try to cheat because they want to enjoy without the expense of Krishna, or even at the expense of Krishna, without satisfying Krishna. So because of these four reasons, we have the tendency to do flawed things. We have the tendency to come up with assertions which are not accurate. Like say, for example, whenever you have jaundice, right? The doctor asks you to take sugar cane, right? Sugar. But the person who is taking jaundice, for him, sugar cane, which is supposed to be sweet, doesn't taste sweet at all. It tastes actually bitter in a way. So he or she, whenever he is jaundiced because he is in a diseased state, the same sugar cane appears not sweet. So can we believe the person who is jaundiced, who is diseased, and is tasting sugarcane? No, because he is in a diseased state. And when a person is in diseased state, the pratyaksha praman we spoke about is not going to come out well. It's not going to appear accurate. So now let's talk about anuman praman. The second kind of praman is anuman praman. Anuman praman is basically it's an axiom. It's like you guess about it. Hypothesis. Thank you, Prabhu. So whenever we think about in this age, there is a plenty of anuman praman happening. Okay, Let's take an example. So once there were like 6 blind people. The 6 blind people who have never seen an elephant in their life. They're blind from the birth. They have never seen. But somebody said that there is an elephant. So one person came and he touched the trunk of the elephant. When he touched the trunk of the elephant and he looked at it, it's round and it is long and it is a bit spongy in nature. So he thought the elephant will be in the form of a snake. He thought elephant is in the form of a snake. Then another person, he was blind, he came and he was on the backside, he touched the tail, and once he touched the tail, it was thin and it was like a rope. He said, no, you know, he told the person one, you don't know how elephant looks like. The elephant actually looks like a rope because I'm right here and I'm sensing it. It has a long, rope-like thing, and it's a rope. And the third person, he was on the front side and he touched the tusk, and the tusk is actually a decreasing in dimension, in diameter, and it was pointed. And he said, no, it doesn't look like a snake or a rope. The elephant looks like a spear because the tusk is like a spear. And then the other person was near him and he was, he held the ear, like it's having a flap kind of thing, and it was making air. And he said, no, it doesn't look like any of the three. I'm telling you the truth. It looks like a fan. The fourth person says, he looks like a fan. And then the fifth person was near the belly, actually. And he said, it's a big, space where, it's blocked from me. It doesn't look like any of the spear or rope or snake. It looks like a wall because I cannot go forward. It looks like a wall. And the sixth person said, he looked at the legs of those elephants and it was huge. And he said, no, it doesn't look any of this. You don't know. He said, the elephant looks like the trunk of a tree. Looks like a trunk of a tree. Actually, if you think about it, if this is exactly what the Anuman Praman leads us to, with a blind faith, without strong conditioning, strong background check, strong parampara, actually, they're thinking about the part of the body as what they came up with, like the trunk of the tree or the rope or snake. That is actually accurate. That is actually accurate. But when they say that whole something is elephant, that is when they became wrong or incomplete. So whenever the Anuman Praman, you are basically thinking that this is what it is, and you are proclaiming based on the little knowledge you have, then it becomes Anuman Praman. And Anuman Praman, as you know, is flawed and incomplete. What we're saying is that limited knowledge they have in that cross section, where they think that the leg of the elephant is like the trunk of a tree, that is not incorrect. But the definition of elephant is incomplete. So there is a difference between incorrect and incomplete. And that is exactly when you guess, when you do Anuman, when you predict, you lead into incomplete situations. And this takes us to a situation where there was a person, he was actually a blind person, and he wanted to go to his in-laws' house. So when he wanted to go to the in-laws' house, he could not find anybody like an escort. And then he got hold of a person who was basically a person who takes care of cows. He takes care of cows by taking them to gazing. Okay? But he said, I can't help you. He asked him, can you help me, take me to my father-in-law's place? And he said, I can't help you because I have like 20 cows. But I have this one cow, which is the brightest of the cow. He knows where I live. That's where your father-in-law is. So he can take you. You just have to hold the tail of the cow, and he can take you to your father-in-law's place. Then what happened was this cow, which is supposed to be an intelligent cow, was leading and the person was holding the tail. Everything was going on fine, they were going in the right direction, but after some time, the person felt there is this element of anxiety, there is an element of doubt, right? So he had that element of doubt and he held his tail in a tight manner. So when he held his tail in a very tight manner, the cow jumped. The cows jumped. The cow was leading him, jumped, and he was running around. So as the cow started running around, this person held the tail even more tighter, and that hurt the cow. And he was going all around the place, and then this person was, he got bruises, and his face was filled with dirt, and somehow, after a long story short, when he eventually ended up in his father-in-law's place, they didn't realize who this person is. They couldn't recognize the person, and they beat him up. Okay, they felt that this person is someone else, and he's proclaiming to be the son-in-law of the house. So, here also, if you got the wrong guru, so this explains that if you got the wrong guru, you can be in trouble. You can be in trouble like exactly how this person was treated by the cow, because this person had self-doubt. The guru was about to take him, the guru in the form of a cow was about to take him, but he didn't have all the knowledge, because the cow doesn't know the direction to the place. And because of that, this person got in trouble because he did not have the right guru. And then the question becomes, when we talk about gurus, right? So what happens is we have this Madhumakshi, the bee, who is really going after the honey. The honey is in a bottle, tight bottle. But this Madhumakshi is trying to go and look for the honey. So when he goes in the border of the bottle, he can't get in because it is closed. So he goes around, he goes to the wall, looks at honey, he couldn't get it, and he becomes frustrated, and he goes, touches the bottle's surface, and then he gets worried, he gets frustrated, and finally he goes and sits on the top of the bottle. Where the cork of the bottle is there, he sits there. And this is exactly what happens to the gurus. They look for knowledge, they do not find the right source, and sometimes with ahankar, they cannot control or they cannot surrender to certain people who are bona fide gurus, and they sit on the top of the bottle in this example and proclaim themselves as gurus because they have been frustrated all throughout. So there are many things we talked about. So I just want to bring it all together. Pratyaksha Praman can be erroneous, but at least you're seeing it. It's erroneous. Then Anuman Praman is full of errors. Then not having the guru, the third thing is, not having the right guru is a problematic thing. And the fourth thing is, when the gurus, they cannot decide or they look for knowledge and then they become frustrated and then they proclaim themselves as gurus, then they really mess around with so many people's lives. So there are four things we really spoke about, which Krishna is saying here, evam parampara prapta. So that means, in order to understand the right source of knowledge, Krishna is telling, this knowledge truly came from me. And if at all you're looking for this knowledge, you should look for the source of knowledge which has emanated from me. And if you are not able to get the right knowledge in the form of, as Prabhupada quotes in the purport, as it is, unadulterated. That's why we look at each word by word translation. That's why we look at every context properly. And then Prabhupada is saying what this means, which is why this knowledge is very transcendental. So the question then becomes, yoga nasta parantapa. Prabhupada is quoting Bhagavan Uvacha Krishna, Yoga Nasta Parantapa. That means if you are looking for knowledge which did not go through disciplic succession, the checks and balances, then you may be able to destroy your spiritual sadhana, which we should not be doing. So that is where it is interesting to recognize who we are and who is the Supreme and what is the relationship between them. So which is exactly known as Sambandha. So Sambandha is a nomenclature which is known as who we are, who is the Supreme, and what is the relationship. That is called Sambandha. Like you have a relationship, you have husband, wife, Sambandha, you have in-laws, Sambandha. So the relationship between you and the Supreme is called Sambandha. And in order to better this Sambandha, in order to better this relationship, we have to do something. Say, for example, the husband-wife relationship is there. You do not do enough. You do not do what is favorable to her in terms of you're not helping her in cooking, or you're not helping her in the aspects she is interested about. And likewise, for husband, if you're not helping your husband, then you are not really doing enough to foster the relationship, which is exactly what is called abhideya. The spiritual term is abhideya. That means whenever we do something to foster that relationship, the sambandha, that is abhideya. And once you do the devotional service to foster this abhideya, then you start liking. There is an element of love. Then you start loving Krishna. The Krishna Prem, the love for Godhead, comes out. And that is prayojana. So, sambandha, abhideya, prayojana. Relationship, trying to better the relationship, and after you have done this devotional service, then nobody can stop the love if everything lines up. Because you have done enough to boost your pious credits, to really think about who you are and who is the Supreme, so that nobody can really, change it. That's why prayojana is the end. When you get into prayojana, when you get into Krishna Prem, then this Shakti, Mukti, Bhukti, all those things goes away. You really do not crave for liberation anymore. Once we start loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the craving for, money, all those things comes with it. Whenever you are interacting with the Supreme, all those things comes up. But that's like a byproduct. That's not the real product. The real product is the love for Godhead, which is prayojana. Okay? So what this verse is saying, it's saying so many things. It's saying three things, the three pramanas. Pratyaksha pramana, Anuman pramana, and Shabda pramana. Shabda means somebody who is bona fide has said it, and we have to adhere to it, because it has gone through numerous checks and balances. It has gone through disciplic succession. That is why evam parampara praptam. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita has explained the manual of life as to what to learn, how to learn. This is how to learn. This is what to learn is when you learn the transcendental knowledge, this darkness is going to be wiped out with transcendental knowledge. So it is very important to understand a very basic nature. So once Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was explaining this, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the Gurudev of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. So what he said is, once there was this rich person. This rich person had a lot of these sycophants. Sycophants means chamcha. The people who just try to get some money from this rich person. So once it was Amavasya, once there was nothing, And in the evening, this rich person wanted to see the sun. And it was evening, and it is Amavasya. But the rich person wanted to see the sun. So this one sycophant, one chamcha, comes in and he says, yeah, I have an idea. I can go and get a candle, and then I'll burn the candle, and with that light of the candle, I'll show you sun. So he got the candle, he lightened it, and he showed up. He couldn't find sun. And all these 4 or 5 other chamchas which were there, which wanted to be benefited, they also came in. They got one candles to light up. So that with the light of the candle, they want to light the sun. Because, and all of them were basically, choreographing as if it is possible. And the second person came, they couldn't see this, because moon is even not there, then how can they see anything? Moon was not there because it was Amavasya. Third person came with a candle, fourth person came with a candle. Nobody could see anything. Nobody could see the sun in the sky. And this rich person said, you are not able to show me the sun. But at the time, there was a true knowledgeable person. The true knowledgeable person came and he said, you cannot let a candle light the sun. Sun gives us light to light all these other things. By doing this candle business, you are not going to see the sun. So this person, he was actually in minority. He was only one person who had the right and the deficit to say the truth. Everybody else were saying something else. But he was going into the difficult charters of life and able to garner courage to say to this person that this is what the truth is. So it is very, very difficult to come against this material gang up. There's a lot of gang up, you see. In jobs you may find some, people who will get together. In lives, somebody will oppose you, they will all gang up. But this person who was side of the truth, however you try, how many candles you bring, you cannot light the sun. And that is the purpose of getting the right knowledge. So when sun comes, then there is this mist, there is this fog, right? So it is not bright, you can't see anything. But as sun comes, all this fog and mist goes away and the place gets lighted. So the knowledge really lightens everything. All the andhakars, all the darkness you and me have can only be cleared by the right knowledge from a bona fide person and by the right source. Because when sun comes, gradually all the fog and mist goes away. And the purpose of we getting together is to understand what Bhagavan said. Bhagavan Uvacha. 4.1, last time, I think some of you missed it and some of you were there. It was Bhagavan Uvacha, 4.1. You can Google it if you don't have this book. You can do BG space 4.1 in Google. The first link is Bhagavan Uvacha. And we are reading the second one and in transcendental knowledge. Because this transcendental knowledge, like sun, will get rid of all the darkness. And so that's the knowledge. But then the question becomes how? We cannot go to any person like these 6 blind people to acquire knowledge. Like this cow who was running around. We cannot go like that. Then we will be in trouble. So that is the reason why in this, so Krishna's message is very, very simple through the Guru. That just chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But the message is very simple. But people are not. People are not at all simple. They cannot understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be attained, the love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be attained by the simple chanting of the holy name. Oh, it must be something else. It must be difficult because it is not easy. Because the people are not simple, the simple process is not acceptable. That's the reason why whenever you come up with a simple solution, people will have doubts about the simple solution because people are not simple. Which is exactly why, through the disciplic succession, even this is not, the chanting of the holy name is not just a Sanatan Dharma concept. It's with every Dharma. It's with Christianity. It's with, the Mohammedans as well. So the point is, the chanting of the holy name, even if simple, only the people who have understood the process through the disciplic succession of parampara can recognize this. Otherwise, they will have doubts. We have a gathering where, you see, only a few handful of people are listening so nicely. It's very difficult because it's not a simple, even if the concept is simple, it is very difficult to understand the simple. Shri Shri Radha Syam Sundar ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. So, evam parampara praptam, imam rajasya vidu, sakalahena mahata, yogamasta parantapa. So, the what and how what to do to get rid of the darkness by getting the knowledge as the light, and how to do it is explained very nicely by Swayam Purna Purushottam Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. There is no need to go anywhere else. There is no need to go where the disciplic succession is not followed. And anywhere there is disciplic succession. And so anytime we are looking for some knowledge, you go to somebody, you ask about the lineage. Like say, for example, whenever a boy and girl get married, they ask where the girl's parents are, when the parents' parents are. Because you want to recognize where the parampara is. Otherwise, we'll be, running all around the place and will not be finding the right information. So, I want to end here by saying this verse is one of the very powerful verses of Bhagavad Gita, Evam Parampara Praptam. It's very important to recognize the parampara, and Krishna is saying it so. And we spoke about Pratyaksha Praman, spoke about Anuman Praman, we spoke about Sabda Praman, and we spoke about 4 or 5 varieties of examples why we need to find the right guru. Otherwise, the knowledge acquisition is going to be a challenge. And also, we discussed about Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, which is critical. And we'll be discussing more about Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana. But that is just a culmination of knowing about the truth, the absolute truth. So with that, I'll end here. So I'd like to open up for your discussion, because I'm sure you will have comments. It doesn't be open till 7:30, we have time. So with that, I'd like to end here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.